Hey everyone, I'm having a fun one today and my painkillers are refusing to kick in, so in my current state I am going to take this opportunity to get a couple of things off my chest and vent about some stuff that's been brought to my attention recently. And what am I going to talk to you about this time? Well, it's the bollocks treatment that some people who ran the London Marathon have received recently. First off, I would like to take this opportunity to say that anyone who ran the London Marathon, whether you came in first or last, bloody well done to you. It's not something I could do. I mean, literally, I don't think I could walk 10 miles anymore, let alone run 26 and however long it is. Congratulations, you've achieved something incredible. Unfortunately, there are some people along the course who don't quite feel the same way. You see, the people towards the back have received some rather unpleasant insults along the way. You know, being told that they should be moving faster. Well, first off, not always possible. Now, I suppose you could think that, I know, but members of the public, they can be a bit cruel sometimes. They just don't think about what they're saying to these people. This was official representatives of the London Marathon, volunteer marshals, contractors, and official representatives of the London Marathon were insulting the people at the back. And one of the people who who was the brunt of these insults was an official London Marathon pace setter. Yeah, this is someone who the marathon team got in to run at a certain speed to set the pace for other people around them. Okay, it's the first time that they brought someone in to do this longer than 6 hours, because this was the main witness to this was the person who'd set the pace, whose job was to set the pace for 7.5 hours, and usually the longest is a 6-hour pace setter. They decided to extend that a little bit this time to make it more inclusive. Well, I've got to say, how included do you feel when these people are there and rather than cheering you on, they're saying things like, if you weren't so fat, you could run faster? And first off, as I mentioned earlier, that's bollocks. If I weren't so fat, I could still barely walk. And a lot of the people who were behind this 7.5 hour pace setter are in similar positions to me. They can't run. A lot of them are injured or have various disabilities. Most of them were running this course for charity. They were being there to help out causes that are close to them. So, to be told something like, this is a race, not a walk, when you are pushing through the agony that you feel to raise awareness for your cause, maybe raise a bit of money for your cause, and just reach the end of this 26.5, whatever it is, mile course. That's just, well, the pace setter said that there were people who wanted to quit at that point, and I'm going to be honest, I can't blame them. Anyone who pushed through that faced the wall and the slings and arrows of these arseholes who were supposed to be officially representing this event. Just major props to you. And in fact, anyone who did quit at that point, don't be ashamed of yourself for that. Just taking part in the London Marathon is something that so many people don't do, and even perfectly able-bodied people just say, no, couldn't do something like that. So to just start it is a major event in life. So even if you didn't make it to the end, if you were put off by these people to the point that you quit, don't feel any shame in yourself for that. And on the point of this is a race, not a walk, it's not really a race, is it? It's an event. If it was an actual race, they wouldn't let anyone who wasn't actively vying for that number one spot take part. They wouldn't let the people in the rhino suits and the diving suits and all of these people who are injured or disabled in some way, who would have no possible chance of getting to the front of that pack, take part. They wouldn't let them in if it was an actual proper real race. So that's two of the insults that were thrown at them, blown out of the water right there. First off, just because you're not fat doesn't mean you can run fast. And secondly, not really a race. But yeah, these people who had managed to stretch the very limits of what they were capable of and make it to this marathon with the goal of reaching that 26-mile mark. I really should look up how to the decimal how long the London Marathon is, but I'm not going to because... So yeah, all these people who fought against their own disabilities and pushed the limits of what your average human is capable of to just get to the London Marathon, and started with the idea of reaching that end point. And as they're running or walking or staggering along as best they can in whatever costumes they may or may not be wearing, they are having insults and sneers thrown at them by the people who, if nothing else at that point, may be the only ones left there to cheer them on. And so when they asked for directions because the course was being dismantled around them and ahead of them, they were basically told, why are you bothering? You can't do this sort of thing. Go home, you fat piece of shit. See, I can understand that this is a major event that closes down many streets in London, and you're gonna want to get those streets open as quickly as possible. But isn't it kind of, traditional to maybe wait until the last person has... But if you have had to dismantle these things and get rid of the direction markers, if someone asks you, comes hobbling up and asks you, excuse me, which way is the London Marathon running, maybe it would hurt less to hold the insults inside and just go, oh yeah, it's that way. And then off they go, doing this good thing for themselves and possibly whatever charity they've chosen. And then you can carry on dismantling the course so that the cars and people can just sort of carry on through London. One thing that I will say, though, that could possibly have stayed up is the water stations. Those places where the people who are running this marathon can get a drink. I mean, okay, it may be 9 hours out of your life for the volunteer or whoever it is who mans that station to stand there and wait for the last person coming past to go, here, you must be thirsty, bottle of water. But no, this 7.5 hour pace setter, again, the person who was officially brought in by the marathon team to run at this pace, got to these water stations and found that they were being shut down. They had been shut down. So these people and everyone behind them couldn't get a drink. There was one person who reported that they were having to drink from discarded half-empty bottles because the water stations had packed up and buggered off. I see, this official pace setter, she called the marathon team and said, look, these water stations have been shut down. There are still people running this race. I am running at the speed you have set, and there's nowhere to be seen. And she was called a liar. Yeah, they called her a liar, said she was lying, and that the stations were still open. Hi, yeah, I'm just running this race, the one that you asked me to at this speed, yeah, little bit thirsty. No one around giving out water. No, I'm sorry, you're lying. These are open and they're still there. Really, you wouldn't mind telling the guy who's supposed to be manning it that they're supposed to still be there? Certainly. Would you put them on? No, I can't because they're not there. So yeah, these people who were running at the same speed or slower had to make this marathon without water, or, on what little water they could scavenge, which makes it all the more impressive for any of them that finished, that they were being denied water, and they still made it across the finish line, or even as far as they did. I can't make it to the top of the small hills that I live near to without a bottle of water. So these people are running a marathon on what little water they can scavenge. How is anybody not insanely impressed by that? Now, I can kind of already see some people thinking, well, yeah, but come on, 7.5 hours. There were people running this thing for 9 hours. Even if they don't get the insults, that's still a little slow. Well, first off, hold your judgment, because not everyone can run as fast as everyone else. And secondly, this was also being experienced by the 6.5 hour pace setter. Yeah, the person who was supposed to run just half an hour slower than the slowest they used to do, had the people around them being insulted and jeered at because they weren't at the front of the pack. And I'm going to be honest, I would have liked to have been someone who could say, oh yes, well I've got something wrong with me, but you know what? I am going to fight through it, and I am going to make it as far along that marathon as I can. I am going to get to that start line. I may not have been able to train daily. I may have only got in the half-hour training session a week, which is all my body can manage. But I got there, and I made it as far along that course as I could. But you know what? I'm not as strong of character or of body as some of the people who ran that race. So if that's the sort of thing that I could expect, I ain't going to bother. Even if I was physically capable of making it from that start point, even halfway along, quarter of the way along, I wouldn't bother if that's the sort of treatment that I'm going to be receiving. And the problem is that there's a lot of other people who are going to think like that now. You know, London Marathon tried to open this thing up, make it more inclusive. What have they done? They're going to have driven people away. People who would have thought maybe, you know what, I'm going to get as far as I can this time. You know, they're making it more open to people like me. I am going to make that push, make it as far as I can. And then they're going to have seen this race and they're going to thought, you know what, if I'm going to be called fat and slow, then maybe I'll just stay at home, not bother. And of course, the London Marathon organisers have apologised to the small number of people that this has affected. Let's just do a little bit of math here, shall we? These insults were experienced by the 6.5 hour pace setter. By the times that came after that, there were about 1,000 people. That is 1,000 people, and I believe it was a record run of 42,000 or so that took it this year. Those insults were directed at around 1,000 people. That's 1 in 40. That is over 2%. And for 2% of the people to be insulted and jeered at and treated as scum for this incredible thing that they're doing, that's just not acceptable. That is not a small number. Even proportionally, 1 in 42, or however much it is not a small number. So, yeah, long story short, I ain't going to be running the London Marathon anytime soon. See you guys.